Welcome to another edition of Marvelous Videos. Today we'll be talking about a popular horror franchise, The Hills Have Eyes, created by Wes Craven of A Nightmare on Elm Street fame. This franchise has 4 films and has amassed a cult following over time. The first film, released in 1977, tells the story of the Carter family travelling through a desert in Nevada, USA. The family stops at a gas station whose owner warns them to keep travelling on the highway and not to stop. After skidding off the road, the family is stranded after their car crashes. What follows after that is an encounter with a savage cannibal and his family living nearby as the Carters struggle to fend off the cannibals and survive. A remake was released in 2006 with a very similar storyline, the only difference being a different setting, a happier ending and a different set of villains. In this film, the Carter family travels through New Mexico and is suggested a shortcut by a gas station attendant. They get a flat tire and are stranded near a town inhabited by mutant cannibals, victims of an old government nuclear testing program. While the 1977 film felt more original and closer to reality, the 2006 remake is liked by modern audiences for its relatability, addition of fiction elements, and comparatively happier ending. One thing is sure, both the films are really disturbing to watch and may give you sleepless nights. The fourth and last installment, which was released in May 2007 as a continuation of what happened before, titled The Hills Have Eyes 2. Here, after the events that took place with the Carters, a group of US Army personnel are sent to that town to watch out for the mutants and install a surveillance system. The strategy of the mutants overpowers the soldiers, and what follows is a battle for survival and the dignity of the soldier. A comic was released in July 2007, which serves as a precursor for the origins of the mutant. Did these people really become cannibals due to the nuclear experiment, or is there something more to it? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who are the mutants? The villains in the 2006 remake, the Mutants, residents of a small mining town in New Mexico, were affected by radiation coming from a nuclear experiment conducted by the US government nearby in the past. This resulted in these people getting deformations and developing a cannibalistic tendency. These cannibals were introduced as mutants in the series to make it more relatable to the audiences and add an element of fiction compared to the 1977 antagonists, who were actual humans with diabolic tendencies. Let's talk about the 2 most significant characters. Jupiter. In the 1977 film, Jupiter was born to Fred, the gas station owner. He was attacked by his father and left to die in the hills after killing his sister and their livestock. Jupiter, however, survived and started a family with a prostitute. The family would kill travelers and eat their remains while stealing their valuables and their belongings. He had 2 sons and a daughter who was more empathetic towards humans. In this version, he is shown to be a deranged human with cult-like reverence from his family members. In the 2006 film, even though the setting is very similar, Jupiter is shown to be a victim of the nuclear experiment, which turns him into a cannibal. His family is not shown. He is the leader of a group of miscellaneous mutants here. This character is less sentient and more savage. Hades. Introduced in 2007, Hades is shown to be a member of the mutant tribe in the New Mexico town. While being portrayed as a good administrator and a good strategist for his tribe and its safety, Hades is also shown to be a very disgusting individual, a savage who forces himself on women to try and breed more mutants. The hapless women are then killed by him for not being able to birth an ideal mutant. In fact, he even goes to the extent of violating female soldiers, such disturbing actions to carry out his tainted bloodline. This is where the comic comes in, to explain the history of the origins of the mutants. How did they come into existence and what were their motivations to carry out such disturbing attacks? Listen to find out more. The Hills Have Eyes. The beginning. The comic starts with Hades narrating the story of the mutant clan. His ancestors were members of the Sawney Bean community, a travelling mining clan. They settled down in the New Mexico desert and engaged in extracting gold and copper. Over the years, their settlement became a small mining town. The Sawney Bean community believed in fighting for their land and their rights while staying firm on their values. Many years later, General Slaughter, a high-ranking officer of the US Army, along with some soldiers and a lawyer, approached a house owned by Dan Bean. Since the government wanted to conduct some nuclear tests nearby, they offered him compensation in return for his house. An enraged Dan spat on the document and the general left. Dan explained to his son the virtues of being upright and fighting for their community when Karen, his wife, came in and told the little boy to sleep. Scared of the consequences of not parting with their house, Dan reassured her that nothing would be wrong. In the meantime, the soldiers who'd accompanied General Slaughter were drinking in a local bar. They suddenly got the idea to go and make sure that Dan complied with the evacuations. The intoxicated soldiers arrived at the town and pulled out Dan and his family onto the road, where he was beaten up badly. Lieutenant Ryan, one of the soldiers, threatened them to evacuate their house or everyone, including their son, would be killed. A furious Dan leapt up to punch Ryan, but Ryan shot him in the head with his rifle. The soldiers left, but not before Ryan reiterated his warning. Karen, furious with her husband's death, promised to take revenge. The next day, on the way to the town, General Slaughter was being assured by Ryan that the Bean family would sign the papers. Ryan further added that he just scared the family while hiding the fact that he had murdered Dan. General Slaughter surprisingly started lecturing Ryan on how he should have taken a more humane approach when he got severely shot in his skull. Realizing that they had been the victims of an ambush, Ryan ordered his colleagues to turn back, who unfortunately were all killed. He managed to escape, but not before getting a gunshot wound to his ear. In retaliation, other army men stormed the town with guns and tanks, and they caused mayhem. They set houses on fire and massacred a lot of people, while the women and children they ran to safety. Ryan took this opportunity to settle his scores. He somehow found Karen escaping with their son and ushered them into a dilapidated house. Ryan shot dead the little boy and started disrobing and slashing the distraught mother till some senior soldiers intervened, stopping his rampage. While Ryan tried to justify his actions, the Major, furious with Ryan, choked him to stop his actions, asking Karen to leave. The Mayor asked his men to arrest the survivors and take Ryan away, who was attacked badly by the Mayor for his inhumane actions. The townsfolk then shifted to the mines, the very place which had helped them build their settlements. Within 2 years, Karen led the people and built a parallel township underneath all the facilities, with food, water and even education of sorts. They couldn't leave the mines until and unless the army experiments of testing nuclear bombs were finished. Karen also confessed to her friend Lillian that she was pregnant, even though she didn't have a partner and wasn't impregnated. After the experiments were completed and the army had left, the townsfolk returned to their land and occupied the houses used as specimens for the experiments. Many of them were affected by the resulting radiation and also started falling sick, but they had no idea about it. As everyone began to rebuild their lives, rumours of Karen's pregnancy spread around the town, slandering her reputation. Karen gave birth to a boy, a disfigured, ugly infant as a result of those radiations. Happy that she had someone to keep her company, though, she loved him fully. The infant, who she named Hades, also had an insatiable appetite. One night, Lillian tried warning Karen about the townsfolk who wanted to throw the baby out of the town because of his diabolical looks, thinking it was a bad omen. Then a few town people, led by Patrick, one of Karen's former assistants, barged into the house. Patrick told Karen that everyone in the town wanted that baby banished. Even after a lot of imploring from Karen, Patrick threatened her to leave or he would kill her child. She leaves that very night, but not before brutally killing Patrick and beheading him. As she moves and settles towards the mines, parents with newborn children, deformed like Hades, left their babies there. A new settlement began to be populated with such mutant children. As time passed, Karen had to go to the nearest gas station for essential supplies. However, the owner, Jeb, said her past dues still needed to be cleared. To compensate for that, Karen offered to have an intimate moment with him. That cleared her debt, but Jeb suggested that she come up with something more sustainable, and that's when they come up with the tourist trap. A horrible tourist trap. In this trap, Jeb and his son would direct unsuspecting motorists who would stop at the station towards a shortcut that could help them save time reaching their destination. The shortcut would lead them to the mines, where the motorists would be blocked and they would be robbed of their belongings and then killed by Hades, who was now a fully grown adult. The cars would be abandoned and their belongings would be sold by Jeb as a part of the agreement to mislead the drivers. About the corpses of the hapless travellers, well, the mutants would take care of those. Karen passed away after developing diseases from the radiation, entrusting Hades with the continuation of the mutant bloodline. Other human well-wishers also passed away over time till only the mutants were left in the mines. At Karen's funeral, Jeb and his sons came to offer their condolences and discuss business. As they were leaving, Hades asked Jeb why his mother shifted out of the village, and Jeb's son revealed the entire truth. This all filled Hades with rage. Along with his mutant peers, he unleashed a bloody massacre, killing everyone in the town one night. While 2 people managed to escape, Hades brushed it off and told the mutants they could now occupy the town, making it their home. As for the 2 escapees, they headed for Jeb's gas station to call the cops. Jeb saw his son outside and asked him what he was doing, and despite warning from his son to go inside, Jeb didn't listen. His son shot at the car, which accidentally ran over his father, killing him on the spot, and the young man shot both the occupants dead. This means that Hades and Jeb have been taking their deal seriously. Over time, the tourist trap arrangement was working quite well. A lot of unsuspecting families were preyed on and a few survived, including the Carters. This led to people being killed on both sides. Some mutants were killed and Jeb's son was also murdered by one such family. Recently, one such hapless family tried to call the cops and lead them to the town, but those cops were also killed brutally. The military was then sent in to tackle the mutant. The battalion assigned for this task was welcomed with mutilated bodies of cops put up as scarecrows as a warning to head back. Ryan, Karen's nemesis, who was promoted to general, was the leader of this battalion. The mutants had planned very well. Heeding his mother's advice to protect the clan, Hades and the others had planned well and killed some army personnel. Backups were also being sent to fight against the mutants, and the war was getting more intense. When Hades learned about Ryan's presence, he commands his men to kill all the soldiers but to leave Ryan alive. More battalions entered with big tanks, but the mutants, with their strategies and unity, killed the army men in ruthless ways, including immolation. Currently, Hades is standing in the mines before Ryan, whose face has been badly injured and bloodied. The other mutants are also standing around. Hades finishes his narration and shows Ryan his army dog tag, a reminder of revenge passed on by Karen, telling him that it was fate that led him to the mutant town and he would pay for what he did. Hades says this story is over and now it's dinner time. The mutants stand with knives ready to devour Ryan as their leader watches with a sinister smile. Marvelous verdict. Comics are an excellent approach to telling the backstories of franchises to fans, and this book is a wonderful example of how to do the same. With the usage of drab colours and an easily comprehensible art style, the comic has a great setting, although if you have a weak stomach we don't recommend it because of all the gore inside. What stood out here was a fantastic storyline from the perspective of the villain, when traditionally it's the heroes who narrate the backstory in such cases. Hades may be a pathetic cannibal and a very detestable figure who goes on to the extent of violating innocent women. Still though, one thing stands out: he is loyal to his bloodline and effectively takes revenge on soldiers who wronged his mother and her previous family. Of course, that is no exception for his wrongdoings. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Do consider sharing it with someone who is a fan of the franchise. We shall now take our leave, but we'll be back with you soon with another marvellous video. Until then, take care and stay safe.